Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In the last video, we talked about what is Unity Catalog. We also discussed about the features of Unity Catalog, and we also talked about how we can create a Metastore and attach a workspace inside a Metastore. Now, in this video, I will be going ahead and talking about how you can add or remove workspaces from a Metastore, how you can delete a Metastore itself, and few interview questions related to Metastore. And then we'll talk about what all cluster configurations are required for Unity Catalog. And then we'll discuss about Unity Catalog object model. So we'll get started one by one. Okay. So let me switch over to Databricks Workspace. As soon as you reach to Workspace, you will see the workspace name here. Click on it and you will get an option managed account. Just click on top of it. You will be redirected to account console from where you can click on catalog. Inside the catalog, you will have the Metastore available in your workspace. Now, if I click on any of these Metastores, you will get to know their information. So in the last video, we created this Metastore. So I'll click on this. And as you can see, whatever path we have given, it created a Metastore on top of that path, on top of that container. Okay. And the region is UK South. Apart from this, as you can see here, currently the admin is a single person or the dev team member or the QA team member, right? But as per Databricks recommendation, we should always use groups when we talk about Metastore admins. So instead of assigning to a specific person, you can assign to a specific group. Apart from this, we have data sharing. The data sharing is basically used to share this data, right, as the name said, outside the organization or different workspaces. It's up to you. Now, the second tabs talk about workspaces, and it will list down all the workspaces which are linked to this Metastore. Okay, if you want to assign another workspace, you can click on the workspace and you will see all the workspaces in your subscription. You can select the one which you need to add. But yes, you can have more than one workspaces in a Metastore. Now, interviewer might ask you a couple of questions here. So let's talk about those questions, and they are really important. So the first one is, can we have more than one workspace for a Metastore? Yes, we can have, but there is a constraint. If you wanted to have multiple workspaces for a Metastore, they all should be in the same region. So if you see here, currently the first one is already being assigned and the second one is available, but I cannot assign it. You see this option? It's not allowing me. The reason is clearly mentioned here. Selected Metastore is not available in this region. So this particular workspace is in a different region, and that's why we cannot assign this workspace to this particular Metastore. So this is one of the question interviewer will ask you. So make sure you know it. Now the second thing is, can we have more than one Metastores in your workspace? Yes, we can have. You can see here, right? We can have multiple Metastores in the region, in the workspace. But again, there is a constraint. You cannot have multiple Metastores for a single reason. Let me show you how you can create a Metastore. Once you click on the Metastore, it will ask you those details which we talked about. You can put the name, you can put the region. So if you see in the region, right, if I go down, you will see for these two specific reasons, it's already saying that one Metastore is already there, and we don't allow multiple Metastores for a same region, right? So that's the reason we cannot have multiple Metastores for a single reason. Okay, so always remember this one. Now, the next question they can ask is, can we enable data sharing at the Metastore level? Yes, you can enable. If you go inside the Metastore, you will have this option here, right? Now, the next question could be like, what if we delete a workspace which is assigned to a Metastore, and if we assign a new workspace, what will happen? So the answer should be, if you remove the workspace, obviously you will not be able to access those tables, view, or the functions, or whatever object is present in that workspace. Okay? You will be able to access all the objects present in the new workspace which you have just attached. So these are the few important interview questions. I will try to add these questions into the description. Please go through it, and I hope these questions will help you. Now, let's talk about how we already discussed, right? Adding and removing the workspaces. So if you see here, this is the place from where you can assign, you can add a workspace. And if you wanted to delete it, click on these three dots and you will have this option to remove the workspace from a Metastore. Now, the second point which I wanted to cover is related to deletion of Metastore. Yes, if you want, you can delete a Metastore as well. You have to go to the Metastore level and click on any of them, and then you will have these three dots. You can click on this and you will see the delete option. You can delete a Metastore as well. So till now, I hope it is clear, right? We can delete the Metastore as well. Now, the last one and the most important one, not the last one, basically, the second last one is related to the cluster configuration for Unity Catalog. So if you want Unity Catalog to be used in your workspace, you need to make sure you are using the required cluster configuration. Okay. So to create a cluster, I can click on compute and I will get an option create compute. You can name it, let's say Unity Catalog. Or something, whatever you want. And by default, if you see, I have selected the runtime 14.3, which is quite latest. And in the summary, I can see it is Unity Catalog enabled. So when we talk about the cluster configuration, we need to make sure of two things, right? The first one is the runtime version, the Databricks runtime version. If you select anything which is below than 11.3, then that cluster will not be able to use Unity Catalog. Let me give you an example. Let's say if I select 9.1, you see, now you will not see Unity Catalog option here. So it means we cannot use the cluster runtime or the Databricks runtime version which is less than 11.3, and that is what recommended by the Databricks. Now there is a catch. Now interviewer might ask you that no, we can use Unity Catalog even with 10.4. That's true. Even though it is lesser than 11.3, you will be able to see Unity Catalog in the summary, and even you can use it. But there are few bugs, right, and few problems which you may encounter while using this particular runtime. So that's the reason Databricks basically suggested to use the latest versions of runtime, right? And it should be above than 11.3. So this is the first thing which you need to take care of, okay? And the second thing is related to the access mode, right? So Unity Catalog only works with single and shared. It doesn't work with no isolation shared. So if I show you, click on shared, you will see this option, but as soon as I'll click on no isolation, you will now see Unity Catalog. And that makes sense, right? No isolation made, why need Unity Catalog? So, okay. So these are the two configurations which which you need to make sure that you are using it, okay? And rest all things are quite standard. So you can select whatever you want, you can change it. I would recommend you not to use photon acceleration and try to terminate the cluster as soon as you are done with your work. So if you create it, this cluster will be, by this cluster, I will be able to access Unity Catalog. The only thing I have kept it is 10.4, which I will be changing now once it is ready. So I'll be editing this cluster configuration and I'll change it. So don't worry about it. As per the database suggestions or recommendation, we will be using the Unity catalog for which the runtime version is higher than 11.3. Okay. Now the next topic is related to Unity catalog object model. Now, what is Unity catalog object model? So if I talk about the object model, right, it consists of couple of layers. The first one is the metastore, right? The, this is a top layer container, top level container in Unity catalog. Okay. And inside this container, right, we are allowed to create as many as catalogs as we want. So you can have more than one catalog in a Metastore. So if somebody asks you, can we have more than one catalog? Yes, we can have more than one catalog in the Unity, basically in the Metastore. Now these catalogs you can think of a logical container. Why I'm saying logical container? You can use it based on your requirement, right? Let's suppose you have different type of businesses. Okay, so you can create catalog based on the business names, maybe a finance, IT, accounts, purchase, sale, or whatever departments you have, right? You can segregate your data based on the catalog level, and you can have a logical container for you. Or if you are working for a single, let's suppose you are working for just for a finance module and you wanted to use the catalog, I would recommend you, or it's a best practice basically, you can divide this catalog or create the catalog or separate the catalog into three parts. One is for environment wise basically. One is for dev, the other one is for QA, and the last one is for test, right? So it's a logical container. I mean, it depends entirely on you how you wanted to use it. After catalog, you can create the databases, right? That's the terminology we use earlier, right? But now, but now we use schema, right? So instead of database, you will use another level container or one more layer of container called schema. It will help you to identify the type of data which you are dealing with. Okay, so it's just like a schema for your table, right? That's how you can learn it or remember it. Now inside schema, now there could be couple of things, right? You can have tables, right? You can have views and you can have functions. It entirely depends on you. Okay. Now these tables are again segregated into two categories. One is managed and the other one is external. Okay. Apart from this, right? Apart from this even, Unity Catalog object model has couple of other components as well. Okay. We'll talk about this manage and external table, don't worry, in the next video in depth, right? We will talk about the differences because it's the most important interview question. We'll talk about it. So apart from these layers, right, like the catalog, schema, views, table, functions, and all, right, there are a couple of other things also present in Metastore. The first thing is called external location. Okay, what is external location? Why we need it? We'll talk about it. And the second thing is basically your storage credential. Okay, and even apart from this, right, there are other things also because we have delta sharing, right, at the Metastore level. So based on the delta sharing, you can have again three pointers here. Uh, Let me put it here like this. Okay, so the first one is your share, share, share. Okay, the second thing is basically receiver or the recipient. Okay, so you can say recipient. Okay, wrote by mistake receipts recipients, and the third thing is the provider. So we will first focus on the object model related to catalog, schema, tables, and all, right? And then we'll shift our uh, work basically, or our concentration to these other components. Okay. So first of all, we'll talk about these object models and then the other ones. So I hope this video will be helpful for you guys. In the next video, we'll talk about manage and external tables in Unity Catalog and how it is different and what all changes has been done by Databricks in these tables. So I hope this video will be helpful for you guys. Thank you. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Bye.